Hi, my name is India. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to a video. Today we are talking about the first 20 books that I have read this year, and we're doing a little bit of a tier ranking. I think I've figured out screen recording on my iPad. That's super fun and exciting. I feel so technologically advanced. I also feel a little bit like Lord Farquaad, but that's okay because it just is okay. So let's talk about how I'm keeping track of the books that I read. So I have a list where I write them all down analog in my book journal and bullet journal. I also have a page where I'm keeping track of the genre. I'm also keeping track of the genre with a book blanket. This is the 6-day star blanket. Each color yarn corresponds to a genre, and so I started with this cream color, which is like a nothing, or my other miscellaneous color, and after every 20 books I will go back and do another cream color. So this is what it looks like right now. I'm really excited about this. It's really fun, and I think it's something that I'm gonna enjoy seeing how the colors progress. It's keeping me accountable in terms of diversifying the genres that I read, because for some of these colors, like the sci-fi fantasy color or the historical fiction, well, for the sci-fi fantasy, I don't read it very frequently, and sometimes I'm like, I really want to use this color, and in order to do that, I need to read a book. There go my cats. They don't want to be in the frame anymore. They might come back. Anyway, that's what I'm doing. I also keep track on Storygraph. That's my main tracking app that I use. Let's just go ahead and start tier ranking. To begin, what my tiers are as follows. Top we have This Is My Personality Now. This is just, books that I'm like, I love this, and for whatever reason I'm obsessed with it and can't get enough, and it's kind of something that I've taken into my my personality. I don't need to explain that. Next one is Big Recommend. These are ones that if I see them at the bookstore, I point them out and I'm like, oh my gosh, this was a really good book that I read, and I want to talk to people about them. Then we have Yes. This is books that I read that I was like, I really enjoyed this. Maybe not a big recommend, but I'm like, this is a book that I enjoyed. I am not upset that I read it. Then we have Not For Me, which I want to clarify does not mean it's a bad book. It just means that it wasn't really my taste, or not really for me. And then lastly we have It's a Book. It gets the job done. Not necessarily, I could have maybe not finished reading it and would have been fine. So let's start with just how these images were filed in. So unpopular opinion, we have All Systems Red by Martha Wells, which is the first in the Murderbot Diaries. And this is going in Not For Me. Ooh. This is about Murderbot, who is a robot that's hacked its own system so that it kind of doesn't have to follow the orders that it's given, but it still is kind of playing the game. I think maybe just the humor wasn't my favorite. Didn't really get me. I just didn't feel as connected to it as I expected to, which was kind of a bummer because everybody loves it. Okay, moving on, we have The Hour of the Star by Clarice Lispector. This is about a woman who is working as, what is she, a secretary? And is just I don't know how to describe it. I've kind of forgotten the plot of it, but it still sits with me. This was a book that I had checked out from work and then proceeded to buy. And that, for me, puts it up in This Is My Personality Now. I want to become enthralled and like obsessed and consumed by Clarice Lispector, and I feel like this book really did a lot in terms of that. Then we have Everything the Darkness Eats. This is an audiobook that I listened to by Eric LaRocca, I don't know. This was creepy. This is about people who keep disappearing. There's some cult elements, there's some like magical realism, there's some grief horror type of stuff going on. I really enjoyed this, and I'm struggling between putting it in big recommend and in yes. It reminded me a lot of Brainworms by I don't remember who, but it reminded me a lot of Brainworms, but I preferred Brainworms. So I'm gonna put it in yes. It's still good, but just like, yeah. Then we have one of the two books that I've read for the school that I used to work at, Piecing Me Together by Renee Watson. This tells the story of a high school aged Black girl who goes to this private school in Portland that is predominantly white, talks a lot about these like opportunities that she's given and this mentorship program that she's in, and her being an artist and using art to understand her world and the things that are happening around her and her feelings. This is iconic. This is the second time that I've read it. It's gonna go in big recommend. I feel like everyone should read it. It's really good. It's quite short. It's YA. I think Renee Watson is a really talented author. Then we have One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar El-Akkad. This is about Palestine and the genocide in Gaza and what's been going on, but particularly it was written from this perspective of like, why are we not more incensed about it? I mean, as the title says, one day everyone will have always been against this. I find it hard to like get the right words to talk about, but this was really well written. Omar El-Akkad is a writer and journalist, and pieces together the atrocities that are happening in Gaza and his own experience being an immigrant and living in Oregon and different things. So this is a big recommend. I also listened to that on audiobook. Then we have two graphic novels that are part of the same series. We have Dates 1 and Dates 2. These are anthologies of historical fiction stories. And Dates 1, it's a book. It's just a book. It was okay. There weren't that many stories that really resonated with me. Some of the art I found not super compelling. Not that it wasn't good. I mean, like, I can't judge. I'm not an artist. But not necessarily the style that I really liked. But Dates 2, I liked a lot more. So I'm going to put that in yes. Yeah. And yeah, just historical fiction, queer stories, kind of, some of them imagine a history or a historical context where queerness is okay. Others are more, I guess, realistic, I don't know. Then we have Victorian Psycho by Virginia Fito. This is creepy. This is about a governess who is a bit of a serial killer. It's really well written. It's really compelling. I didn't want to put it down even though it was really creepy. Yeah, just like, I love historical horror a lot. I read House of Shadows and House of Secrets by that one lady who is very like cozy horror coded, Darcy Coates. I don't know why, I don't like calling people ladies. That seems like a weird thing to call people. This one lady. Anyway, this one author, Darcy Coates. And I like historical horror. So this is going in big recommend. I pointed out to people and I'm like, yes, please and thank you. Okay. Oh, we're not there yet. Yeah, let's go with First Rule of Punk. First Rule of Punk by Celia C. Perez is a YA middle grade book I also read for the school I used to work at. It is about Malu, who is punk and Mexican American and is really trying to figure out how to be who she is. It's not like she's trying to figure out who she is. I think she has a pretty good idea of like, this is who I am and this is who I want to be, but it's figuring out how to do that. That's the main part of this story. She's a great character. I love all the characters in this book, but she moves from her small town to Chicago with her mom. And it's about being at a new school and trying to like fight the system a little bit and being punk. This was really sweet. I think it's really good. I'm gonna put it in yes, because yes, it's great. I think folks should read it if they like middle grade. It's just really, really solid. Then let's talk about two books, Married to the Devil and Hoarded by the Dragon. We're gonna start first with Hoarded by the Dragon, which I read first this year. I think it was the first book that I read, first book that I finished. This is about Katerina and Kalos, who's a dragon, and she sneaks into his dragon lair to steal one of his things from his hoard, and he finds her, and that's how the story starts. And she's like, hey, let me take this thing, and in exchange we can work out like a situation, like a one night situation. And he's like, I'm in heat, so okay. This is one of the books in the Monstrous Matches series by Lillian Lark, which I've been reading and really loving. I would be amiss if I didn't put it in This Is My Personality now, because this series is my personality. I think, is there a way? Should have figured this out. Ooh, never mind. Anyway, really liked that one. Not necessarily my favorite of the series, but I still liked it. Oh, now it's not letting me do anything. Thank you for bearing with technical difficulties. Okay, as I was saying, Hoarded by the Dragon, this is my personality now. Married to the Devil, though, I still had a lot of fun, but I'm gonna put this in not for me. I think there were just certain elements of it that I didn't love. So this follows Katerina's friend who gets married to this gargoyle for reasons that are spoilers. And she's also has these like frenemy, like enemy acquaintance feelings for this other guy. So there's a little bit of a trio happening, which I like. But some of like the power dynamics that were in play, like, just weren't my favorite. So not for me. I'm still gonna continue reading this series. I'll read whatever comes out in it. Like, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I was like, give or take. Then we have Childhood by Tove Ditlevsen. This is a memoir, creative nonfiction about Tove's childhood, growing up poor in Copenhagen. It's part of the Copenhagen trilogy. There were some really interesting sections. The thing is, I'm between, I think it was well written. And I'm going to continue in the series. At the same time, it was just kind of okay. So I'm gonna put, it's a book. It's kind of okay. Like, I don't regret reading it at all. But yeah. Ooh, The River Has Roots by Amal El-Mottar. This story made me love this author. I read This Is How You Lose the Time War, which is her book with Max Gladstone. This book is this queer, short fantasy set in this world where it talks a lot about language. It talks a lot about grammar being magic. And ooh, it's so good. It's like not my personality, but I really liked it. I listened to it on audiobook while I was like visiting a friend on the coast for their birthday. So it's gonna go in big recommend. I think you should really read it. It was so worth the time. Helen of Troy, 1993 by Maria Zoccola. This is a poetry collection that tells the story of Helen of Troy, 1993. So they're Helen poems, so it takes inspiration from the myth of Helen and the wars that were fought over her. But it situates her in the 90s, and so there's like this modernity to it that's really fun. I liked it. I don't think it's something that I would like recommend broadly to folks. I think if you like poetry, if you like the poetry is stunning, and it was read by the author. I listened to it on audiobook. So I really liked that reading experience. So I don't know, I'm gonna put it in yes. If it'll let me. Yeah. Then we have In Memoriam by Alice Wynne. Oh, so good. So good. This is a book that I had been meaning to read for a while because a bunch of people at the bookstore that I work at were like, read this book, we love this book. This is set during World War I, follows these boys who are going to this school together and then enlist in the war. Yeah. I just lost everything. Okay, I figured it out. It was a little annoying. That's okay. In Memoriam, I think I already talked to you a little bit about what it's about. For me, this is a big recommend. It's so close to being, this is my personality now. I really loved it. I thought it was phenomenal. But it was a book that the thing that like doesn't tip it quite over is I was like, do I want to buy this or not? Because I checked it out from work. I was like, do I want to return it or do I want to buy it? And I didn't feel super compelled to own it. So for me, it's going to be a big recommend. Then we have Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. This is a story about grief and aging and life. So we have Tova, who works at an aquarium, and she is older. Her husband has passed away, her son has passed away. She's kind of lonely. She has a group of friends that she spends time with, but it's kind of like, I don't know, she doesn't have, I mean, she does and she doesn't have a lot going for her. It reminds me a lot of Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. And then we have this other character, Cameron, who is a little bit of a deadbeat, kind of like gets kicked out of his, like broken up with and kicked out of his house by his girlfriend, and doesn't really know what he's doing with his life. And so he's on this quest to find his father, to get money from his father. And then we have this octopus, Marcellus, who also has a perspective in the story, sees Tova while she's cleaning the aquarium. Let me scooch so you can see Eleanor. Sees Tova while she's cleaning the aquarium. Yeah, and it's about how these characters are like intertwined and what happens. This is a good book. It's a book that I picked up because I had a lot of customers recommend it to me. They're like, this is really fantastic. But, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to put it in yes, but I'm not going to put it in big recommend. Like, if people are like, should I read this? I'm like, yeah, if you want to read it, read it. Okay, well, now that Eleanor has moved. Then we have Lessons from My Teacher by Sarah Rule. From Preschool to Present, I believe is the subtitle, like secondary title. I really liked this. This had me, I just read at the right time, made me reflect on really important teachers. This is Sarah Rule reflecting on her important teachers and what they taught her and lessons that she's learned, whether it be her preschool teacher or her writing mentor and her like theater mentor. Sarah Rule is a playwright, or like her kids and her dog and her father. And so this like got me at a really important time and like helped me make some decisions. And so it's gonna go in. This is my personality now. When it comes out, I'm gonna be buying it for a lot of people. And I'm looking forward to sharing that. Then one of the first books that I read this year was Devotions by Mary Oliver. This is a collection of poetry by Mary Oliver, and they were really good nature poems. I'm gonna put this in yes. Yeah, because they were really solid. Private Rights by Julia Armfield. Feels like I read it last year. This is following three sisters who convene after like not really talking to each other after the death of their father, and we follow each of the three sisters in this kind of dystopic London where everything is underwater and there's like constant rains and constant like flooding, and it's really atmospheric and austere. I really liked the characters in this. I really want to read more from Julia Armfield. I'm gonna put this in big recommend. I feel like if you haven't read it, you should definitely pick it up if you like. And here's the other thing. I'm not someone who likes sister dynamics that much in books. Maybe it's because I don't have a sister, but these dynamics in this book I really enjoyed. Lastly, we have The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the second book in the Roper-Moyes cycle series. And this kind of follows Ronan. And that's all I'm gonna say. It's not like it only follows him, but he is pretty important in this book. I really love the Raven cycle, the Roper-Moyes. This is my first time reading it, and so I'm really having a great time. I have the audiobook for the third book coming to me soon. I'm really excited. And I don't know whether to put this in This Is My Personality Now or big recommend, because I feel like it's not quite my personality. Like the Roper-Moyes is not quite my personality. I feel like if I read it in high school, it would be, but yeah. So we're gonna put it in big recommend. So good. So good. Okay. Thanks so much for watching this, sticking with me through technical difficulties, and I'll see you when I see you.